G'day everyone, welcome to another episode of Brother Nature. My name's Dougal Gilman and I'd love to invite you to join us on this multi-part series as we explore the beautiful Iron Range up in Cape York Peninsula, North Queensland. There is endemic and iconic wildlife that only exists here and we'd really love to show you all that. Also, we've got stunning reef just out off the coastline here, the Aboriginal community of Lockhart River just behind me, Mount Tozer to the west, and the beautiful beaches of Chile Beach and Portland Roads just to the east. Like I was saying, the region's full of iconic stuff, but particularly a childhood dream of mine, the green python and the juveniles, which are bright yellow. We've spent the wet season here. It's now been 9 months. We have found so much stuff. It's been awesome. So yeah, please just stay tuned, come and explore and see everything that we got whilst we were here. Alright, welcome to the first night in Iron Range, guys. This has been 25 years in the making. I've wanted to come up here since I was a young man, and it was all because of this particular animal here, the beautiful green python. And a good friend of ours, Ian, has brought us into the forest because they've been camping here a couple of nights, and he was like, oh yeah, we've been seeing them up in here. And 2 minutes into the forest, we've got this absolutely stunning specimen. And this is a childhood dream come true. Hopefully one of many yet to come. And we'll take some stills now and we'll show you the beauty of what is probably the prettiest python in the world, I reckon. The beautiful green python. Okay, nature nutters. In the tree up behind me, Mariel has found our first ever Canopy monitor. This is one of the sort of 5 or 6 species as to why we came to this region. He's in a really awkward spot, lots of leaf litter, obviously, hence the name Canopy Dragon. So it's not, I've got a few pretty mediocre photos of him, but I'm going to try and get him. Good luck. I appreciate that you'll be thinking, what is this ape buffoon doing? This is a technique I use of scratching the leaf litter to photograph and catch animals, avoiding a direct line and making eye contact where possible. Oh my God, this is the Canopy monitor. Look at that tail. Well, nature nutters, as you saw from that video, I managed to sneak up and successfully get our first ever Canopy monitor. This is Varanus keithornii. Unfortunately, this time of the year in the dry season, he's a little bit on the thin leggy side, but nonetheless, we love him still. Oh, just a species I've wanted to see since I first found him in the field guide probably 30 years ago. As I mentioned with the green python, I've been waiting a long time to come up into the Iron Range to find all these beautiful tropical North Queensland species, and here we are, second day in the forest, and my beautiful wife finds me this stunner. The thing that's really got my notice is these extra long digits for a life in the canopy, and how prehensile this tail is. As we've been handling him for the last few minutes just in camp getting ready, the way and the manner in which he uses his tail is just brilliant. I absolutely love him. He's just so slender and built for that life up in the trees, hunting his birds, but probably more so insects, other lizards he'll eat quite a lot. But their tail is just amazing. Absolutely love it. Anyway, we'll take an opportunity, we'll get some nice stills and some macro for you so as you can see him up close. But yeah, our first ever Canopy monitor. Couldn't be happier. So as you can imagine, after a few minutes of handling and doing photography with this animal, we'd caught the attention of our fellow campers, who we then invited to come across and enjoy, taking photos themselves. Whilst we were all busy doing that, one of the girls in the group happened to notice up in the tree this beautiful female Cassus. So you'll have to forgive this initial bit of shaky footage, but the Cassus is one of the 4 taxonomic genera of the possums and gliders and things. But how they differentiate from most others is the opposable
fingers and toes, giving them this very chameleon-like grip on the branches, as you can see here. Another thing that caught us initially by surprise was actually how large she is. She's considerably larger than your typical suburban brushtail possum. Cape York plays home to actually two species of Cassus, the only two in Australia for a fact. The other being the southern Cassus, although it's far harder to see. We, in the entire year that we were in Lockhart, only ever saw 3. And if you're interested in going up into the Cape to see the Cassus whilst you're up there, definitely, obviously, spotlighting at night's the way to go. We found around the watercourses was probably the better place. And if you've got one available to you, a thermal scope will certainly aid, as the vegetation, particularly in the summer, is so incredibly thick. To find Cassus up in the Canopy can be very challenging. During our stay camping in the forest, Mariella and I grew particularly fond of this female, as you can see, putting on quite the show, just hanging from that beautiful prehensile tail, grazing on the berries. Yeah, there was actually quite a busy road during the peak of the tourist season. There's actually quite a bit of traffic that scoots past her home range, and it didn't put her off. She would come out and put a show on like this, grazing on the berries. See, she'd typically eat leaves and things, so a little bit of seasonal fruit like this really buffers her diet. She'll even take some bird eggs if they present the opportunity. So yeah, just a real delight to see hanging and behaving like this out in the open. By this point, after having watched her for several minutes make her way through the treetops foraging, we were all starting to speculate that she actually had a joey in the pouch, as it looked very full and appeared to be sagging down. Lovely old Glennis piped up and said, "Oh, she has just fledged a joey. It was with her about a week ago. We've not seen it for the last week, though it has been down towards the toilet block. On occasions, you still see it from time to time." So that really caught our attention. So with that in mind, we were now determined that we'd have to go find this joey and check it out. Thankfully, lovely Glennis and Ash, who had been camping there for a month, had offered to take us out in the evening to try and find it where they'd last seen it. And this is what follows. Her beautiful little joey was actually where they said, out near the toilet block in the mango tree there. And this is what we caught of her.
Focus on that light.
I thought he was
Holy moly.
going to do that.
Focus on that light.
Yeah. Go, buddy, go.
We're waiting for him.
Go, buddy, go.
Okay.
Go.
I can't see him.
Oh, man.
Shh, babe. Focus on that light.
Yeah, well, I couldn't even find him. He's like a koala.
He does, doesn't he?
I know.
As the weeks went by, we started to grow more and more suspicious that she did in fact have a joey. We were starting to see a lot of evidence of her licking her pouch and feeding very intensely and doing all sorts of other little mother-like tasks, only to then eventually start seeing evidence of a joey, little bits of tail and fur sticking out the pouch. We never did quite get a headshot or anything nice like that, but it was just nice to know that, you know, after seeing the joey separated from her, that in fact that she was carrying another successful generation into the future.
All right, nature nutters, we're incredibly fortunate. We've come down to the boat ramp to find crocs, and Mariella's copped the eye shine of this gorgeous giant tree gecko. It's our new species for us. And as I caught her out this melaleuca tree behind me, you know, at first, obviously, she was a bit distressed and tried to bite me. She exposed this beautiful black mouth and quite dark tongue as well. Oh, she's just licking her face and eyes now. So, let's see if we can see that tongue. Anyway, another specialty of the Cape York Peninsula up here in the far
far north of Queensland, but I'm really digging, and we'll get some close-up macro detail of these epic pads. Like, the toes on these things are just brilliant. Right now, because she's walking out my arm with my hair, she obviously doesn't like that in her pads, so she's curling her toes backwards, which looks pretty cool. But then they've got a very cool claw that comes in over the top as well. So very agile in the treetops. She's looking to probably jump across. But yeah, our first ever giant tree gecko. Woohoo! Now, for those of you who are interested, or perhaps planning a trip up into the Iron Range, or up into the Cape for that matter, I'm going to delve far deeper into the giant tree gecko and a number of other species on where to best find them and how to find them. All the tips and tricks I learnt whilst I was up in the Cape. So if you do go there yourself, you stand a far greater chance of finding them. So stay tuned for that part coming up soon.
Hi Nature Nutters, pretty stoked. I found this brown-headed snake in the forest, but it got away on me in the thick vegetation. But tonight we've managed to get this one on the road, so happy to get a second one.
The brown-headed snake, which formerly used to belong in the Farinas, is now the Glyphodon trichurus, is one of those snakes that won't back away from a bit of a fight. When provoked or cornered, handled, it will definitely flare up and go from zero to hero pretty quickly. And for those of you who are interested in photographing or perhaps even handling this animal, just be conscious that it is neuro and myotoxic in the environment that they live in, being remote. You're going to want to know your first aid because you're going to have to deal with it yourself. And even though we found them in just about every single habitat, they definitely did occur more often in the wetter habitats, the rainforest, the riparian forests, stuff with lots of leaf litter, dead logs, heavy undergrowth, less the open woodlands and stuff. So I feel that this sequence gives me a really good opportunity to stress how, if you're going to go up into Lockhart and the Iron Range, anywhere up in the Cape for that matter, to be quite cautious around the waterways. Now this is a no-brainer, big 4.5 metre croc in a big river on the banks hanging itself, it's obvious. But what I came to learn was big crocs like this in the wet season go right inland, right up into the rainforest. And they remain there. I think they learn from my observations that there's a lot of pigs up in the forest. We found crocs like this in 3 inch of water in little creeks, probably only 2 or 3 feet wide. It's a bit of an eye-opener when you do.
Alright, so you've just seen that beautiful big cherin from underwater. I was fortunate enough to be able to catch it, but what it has done is freshly molted. So I'm obviously going to let this specimen go. I have no intention on keeping it. But I wanted to demonstrate exactly how big these things get. I'm going to be a little bit delicate with it though.
Oh, Jesus. It's huge.
This is a giant freshwater prawn. This is a big mature adult male. You see these beautiful red dots. But look at the size of that beast. What an absolute monster. Alright. He only just fits in the bucket, so I'm going to go let him go now.
Hi, buddy. Oh. Wow.
It's a nice little spiky one.
There's your little fight. There's your fight. There's your fight.
So this is a real classic defense maneuver, and that is to bury the face into the earth to protect the soft, vital portions of him, because typically their predators are dingoes, and that dingo will try and grab those little feet and get him over and try and get into the soft underbelly. Whereas when he buries himself into the dirt like this, obviously as he, senses me touching him, he's going to throw his spines out that way and try and really maneuver to cause some damage.
Big. I actually.
He's very clean looking actually. He's a nice. He's not particularly big. Like, they do get substantially larger, but no obvious sign of fleas or ticks, which is nice.
Here's your little face.
And he's got this cool little backward facing claw that really allows him to anchor into the earth as well.
Yeah.
So
Poor little one.
it doesn't take much for an echidna to move a whole pile of earth. Hey dog! Oi!
Just out past the Lockhart Airport, there's a track on the left-hand side that leads you into an old World War II AA bunker, but it happens to be full of these little microbats and various other things, so worth a look at.
Let's run this.
Little bat on the floor here, don't know what's happened to him. He's covered in fleas though, but I kind of feel a bit sketchy handling him. I feel like he might be dying from something, but this is really remarkable because this is the wrist. This is our part, this part here, the wrist. And these are his fingers. So all these little bones here from this point are all fingers coming out, the finger and hand. Look at that amazing bit of evolution. The membrane on this, the cute little face. I don't know what he's succumbed to. I'm gonna have to wash my hands thoroughly after this. But I think it's literally just dying in front of us. He's on the ground here and struggling. Maybe it's just had its day. So when we were here last year, just prior to the wet season, there was this beautiful colony of ants that had made this hammock on this tree, but it was on the other side. During the wet season we couldn't get in here because this is well and truly underwater, as there's a lot of nearby tributaries, but you can see where previous hammocks have been attached to the tree and where there were colonies of these ants. There's another one up there you can also see. So the ants had to move their nest throughout the wet season to get above the high water mark. But thankfully we've returned to find that they have recolonised, and here's this beautiful hammock of cut leaf material and what's like spider cobweb. Now it's hard to see because obviously it's very camouflage, but Mariella's just going to stand back a bit and I'm going to obviously touch the nest and get the ants to pop out, and you'll see what I mean. The nest is moving. It's very hard to see, but the nest... Maybe I need to... Here we go. So they're now going to spray formic acid up into the air as an irritant. So they think whatever threat I am, if they spray, oh, you can smell it now, it's like battery acid. So they're all spraying because they don't have mouth pincers or stingers. Their defense mechanism is that formic acid. So quite brilliant. Look at them. Oh, it's getting... Oh, I can smell it. I actually feel it tingling in the back of my fingers actually. So right now they're just raining formic acid down on us. You see their little bums up in the air. Oh, I wish you could smell it. Quite bizarre. But here's this ingenious ant nest. And on occasions we've seen them on the sides of palm leaves as well. Yeah, thought you might find that pretty cool.
Now this formidable little beastie is Cryptochilus bicolor, better known as the Australian triangular or spider wasp. It's one that demands my respect, actually. I had an unfortunate situation when I was a kid crawling through a barbed wire fence where one of these appeared from nowhere and stung me just under my eye. They then proceeded to puff up. I was left barely able to see for 2 days, and then when it finally subsided, I had 2 black eyes. Really quite painful. Now, despite that, I actually still have a huge appreciation for them, just their sheer strength and the toxin. So she is completely anaesthetized and paralyzed, this huntsman here. She's going to drag it all the way back to a burrow she's pre-prepared, and she'll lay a single egg on that, which will hatch out, and the larvae will eat this spider alive. So I'd like to take this opportunity just to dedicate this episode to my buddy Ian, simply for the fact that he walked us straight into the forest and got that beautiful green python that night. Thanks again, mate. Well, okay, beautiful people, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up here. I certainly hope you've enjoyed watching it. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit those buttons. Come, explore, see more, be more with Brother Nature.